that I believe with all of my heart, as the Lord spoke to me the other day, that we're at a pivot point. Let me tell you what's very easy to understand in the book of Revelation, that God will judge the earth. I didn't want it in my lifetime. You don't want it in your lifetime. Nobody wants to go through it. We all want to go up in the rapture. We don't want to see death. We don't want to deal with suffering. We don't want to go through hard times. But the fact is, it's in the Bible, so we got to deal with it. Peter's saying, I know that suffering's going to come and you never want to deal with it, but I'm telling you, God is going to begin a judgment, and it will begin in the house of God. Here's what I believe. With judgment beginning at the house of God, how could he judge the world if he doesn't first judge his church? How could he judge the world and not his own? So he says, judgment will begin at the house of God. Proverbs 17 verse 3 says, the refining pot is for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the hearts. You know what he's saying? He's given an image there. He's given an image of a pot that will smelt down silver or gold. And he says it's got to go into a furnace. And when it gets into the furnace, what's going to happen is the dross, meaning the stuff that's not really gold or not really silver, is going to come to the surface. And when it's cooled down, I can chip away the flux off of the top, the slag off of the top, the mess off of the top, and polish the pure bar of gold. And he gives that image to say, God will test the heart that way. God will test the heart that way. So when judgment begins at the house of God, I believe God is putting you and me to the test. Not temptation to sin. God does not tempt any man to sin. But to the test, whether we won't sin more than we want his righteousness. To the test, whether we really love him or love our own ideas more than him. Come on, whether we do put the kingdom first or our own agenda first. Ephesians 5. It's in the context of Paul saying to the husbands to love their wives and their wives to love their husbands. But in the middle of there, he gives a prophetic utterance that is so profound and powerful. I want you to hear it. It's in verse number 26 and 27. It says that he may sanctify. Somebody say sanctify. That means separate. And cleanse her with the washing of the water by the word, that he may present to himself a glorious church. Are you hearing me? A glorious church. Is he talking about a church or is he talking about a woman? He's talking about the church. A glorious church. You know what a glorious church is? It is where the glory is found.